Four. Do 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 pop pop pop. All right, greetings from the Survival Pod. This is Freedom Phil out here in the wasteland, and what's the topic? This is something poor people do. I've seen people that make lots of money and still yet they're broke. They confuse the objective with the status they attain from doing something. They're like, well, what do you mean? Food is a great example of this. Recently, I did that video talking about how the bologna companies are ripping you off. It says it makes about 14 sandwiches, only has 11 slices. I don't know about you, that's 3 slices short. That's 3 sandwiches short. And in the comments, this one person's like, I haven't eaten bologna in 45 years. And my comment, sucks to be you. Because that is my outlook on it. Because I like when I go to say a Subway, I enjoy a cold cut combo. I do enjoy a cold cut combo. Oh, Black Forest ham or, something. I always thought the meatball marinara is kind of a ripoff. I always thought that. You want to make a good meatball sandwich, you should get some Swedish meatballs. But it's one of these things where I've seen a lot of poor people do this line. Where status things like where we went out to eat. We didn't have to cook. People who order DoorDash. Like, you're still renting in a city and you spend how much per year on DoorDash and other little trinkets, and they're like, well, I work hard. I deserve something better. And my outlook is, whether it's steak and lobster or my bologna sandwich, it all turns into a turd. I see people, like I had a relative, still have him, still around, and he was all about the Grey Goose. And I found basic brand vodkas down here for half gallon for $9. And amazingly, maybe I'm just incredibly good at filtering this stuff. I don't know. But I feel just the same as if I had had Grey Goose. And the taste, it's mixer vodka. I don't care about the taste. You spent how much on a fifth so you could drink a few glasses here and there? I bought how many half gallons for the cost of that Grey Goose fifth? It's the objective that matters. Same thing goes for cars. It's a whole other separate topic. People get really wrapped up in, look at my new vehicle. And people that get paranoid about it, of course, they see my old van. And I'm just kind of sitting there reading my cell phone, and they look over, better make sure to lock the car. You know what that says to me? You're renting, you're rich. And people do the same thing with food. Whether it's bologna or boar's head, it makes a sandwich. Some people, they go to certain stores. Well, no, you see, you guys remember the quinoa craze back in the day? Oh, God. I was sitting there, I was at our local co-op, and I was talking to, there was 2 clerks there. One of them was like this pretentious hippie chick, and the other one was just a basic hippie dude. They're both working at the store, and I said, it'd be really funny if somebody replaced the quinoa with that cheap millet. And the lady's like, why would that be funny? Because there's so many pretentious people here that wouldn't know the difference. They wouldn't have a fucking clue. And they'd be paying like how many more dollars per pound for what is effectively bird seed. I don't get why that's funny. It's funny because of just how stupid people are. People that are like, well, certified organic. And that's good. That's good. But if you really want to get really good produce, you should probably grow it. Or if there's apple trees, like when you're in Western Washington, there's an abundance of free apples everywhere. Hell, if you're really bored, you can make Applejack out of it. Just like you can make blackberry wine out of the Himalayan blackberries that are invasive species around there. See, I could understand when people have high standards for food when they're making it. Y'all don't hear me. Like people who go to restaurants and pay an absurd amount of money so they can convert that meal into turd are stupid. And a lot of lower class poor people are fucking stupid. Because they will go and spend anywhere from, $30, $50, $100 to make a turd. But if you're a quality cook, let's say you know how to make like really good fettuccine, like rice or fettuccine. You go out, you catch the shrimp. You know, you're out fishing anyway, so you got a crab pot and a shrimp pot down, fishing off the docks. And you take the time to peel the shrimp before you cook it. Then you keep the shrimp heads. And you boil the shrimp heads and the tails to make a perfect stock. Then you cook the shrimp meat. And what happens is that stock, you use that stock to cook your noodles, your rice, your whatever. Done correctly, this is probably going to be some of the best fettuccine you've ever fucking had in your life. Same thing with the rice. You want to make a good seafood fried rice. Cook the rice like that. And then you do all the usual things you would do. See, you can't, it's like mama's home cooking. Mama's pie. Or, you know, like the way she makes stuffing or collard greens. That is real food. And in the same way that if you're just making a basic sandwich, and whether you love it or hate it, you know, I know some people that are all about the anchovies. I not so much, but I'm not going to knock it. You know, I'm a guy that likes seaweed, for God's sakes. I like kombu and all sorts of different seaweed. But, you know, when I make a bologna sandwich, and it fills my belly, far cheaper than the boar's head, far cheaper than the ham, far cheaper than everything else, and I enjoy it. Well, guess what? I got from point A to point B for pennies. You go out there and you've got to have the creme de la creme. All that money you just spent on that could have been invested. Whether it's into your own education or into stocks and bonds. This is what holds people back. They want to purchase immaculate food instead of cooking it. They want to purchase something that shows, look at us, we have, it's like, go buy some cheese. Tillamook is good, don't get me wrong. But is Tillamook vastly better than the cheese, the regular Walmart Great Value? No, it's really not. You've only convinced yourself that the label matters. So, while you're spending that money on stupid things like that over the course of your life, you could have actually made compound interest off of that money. And, you know, just something food for thought. When you get old, you will probably more and more realize that you probably don't really need to eat breakfast. Maybe a reasonable lunch and a decent dinner. They call it intermittent fasting. I'd argue we are organized in our modern world to eat way too much. Way too much. It's like an industry that designs you to be fat, poor, and hopefully dead before you ever collect Social Security. Fucking genius if you think about it. Diabolical. I don't know. But whether it's steak and lobster or a bologna sandwich, it all just turns into a turd. That's my thoughts. Freedom Phil, like and subscribe.